I'm Patrice Shavone Brown from North Carolina. I am the CEO of Restore Bodies and Minds, which is a mental health facility that helps adults that have severe persistent mental illness.
The city of New York, Boricua from the Bronx.
We've been established since 2011. I've worked as a mental health counselor since 2003. I've written seven books, two children's books and two fiction, and I believe it's two nonfiction. I wanted to sort of kind of try each genre. I haven't did the whole horror thing yet, but that's on my list.
Okay.
And I'm a single mother of two. I have a daughter and a son, 13 and 9. And basically, that's me in a nutshell.
What's the horror gonna be about?
I don't know. I'm a big Stephen King fan, so I don't know. It's got to be like sci-fi horror, supernatural type of scary stuff going on. Whatever comes to my mind, but I'm a big Stephen King fan, and I have not written a horror book yet. That's on the list though.
All right. Maybe you could weave it into the whole mental health thing, you know?
Yeah, that would
No,
be good. Give
right.
me ideas.
There you go. We're gonna write this book, right? Well, if you think about it,
Right,
right?
right.
A lot you I mean, you could make it kind of crazy in sci-fi, but you can also still address the elements of the real things that go on in mental health where people don't know
Right.
certain things. You can make it work.
Okay. Give me some time. Give me some time.
Maybe put me in the movie.
Okay.
I was recently in a horror film and I got the top of my head cut off. So I mean, even if I'm just gonna get eaten by somebody, I'm cool with that. You know,
Okay.
I was a hitman, right? So I went in there to basically, shoot these guys, and my gun jammed, and one of the psychos in the theater came out with a chainsaw and basically cut the top of my head off. Pretty fun stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay. It was cool to experience that though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It was
cool.
it was fun. It was when it was happening, he was like, "Okay, Angel, I need you to go like this. Just go like this." And I'm like, I don't think that's the reaction somebody who gets the top of their head cut off would do. They would kind of just drop or would think, right? Now,
Right. Who told you that the director? The
yeah,
director wanted
yeah,
you to do that? Oh my
yeah.
God.
He's like, "So, okay, Angel, we're just gonna you stand like this, and when the guy, he's gonna go like this, you just go." And he kept having me doing it over and over and over. That was so funny because it was just the nonsense of going like this, it was pretty silly,
Oh,
you know. But I mean, if you look at even like these big films like the Avengers and you watch them before they're actually cut and everything, it looks silly too. When I watch, the other ones and you see them and they're doing the same thing, they're like, okay, run, and it looks silly without the music and without the effects. So I was like, you know what? Next time I'll be more committed.
I think that's a good experience to experience. I haven't gotten my feet wet with the whole film and everything yet, but I do have like a reality type of show that I'm getting ready to start doing based on my book, Secrets of a Crazy Mental Health Counselor. So I think that's gonna be my first time on film for me, but that would be a great experience to try something new. I've written the books and I'm doing like the counseling thing. So my next thing is to get on film. And that's what I'm gonna do this year.
Tell me about the book.
This is my very first book. It's called Secrets of a Crazy Mental Health Counselor. And I had wrote that one pretty much in 2017. It's pretty much about me, my personal development versus my professional development and just my reality. I just pretty much wrote it to let people know just because you counsel other people, you're not perfect. You go through your own struggles just as well. So it was sort of kind of like a self-help, inspirational book, just opening myself up to the world.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I think that people may be under the impression that someone who works in mental health has all the answers. And, I mean, I don't work in the space, right? I dated when I was in the Air Force, I had a girlfriend who was a mental health tech, we call them, because all our jobs were techs, some sort of tech. So she was a mental health tech. And not for nothing, she was jacked up as everybody else. You know what I mean? We're all, she was just as jacked up as,
Right, right. But they said that those are the best helping people, the best counselors, people that have been through things. I mean, because if you haven't experienced anything, how are you going to help or teach somebody else or lead them if you haven't experienced for yourself? That's how I always think about it. And I just, want to be open. That's how a lot of me and my members we connect with each other based on that. I feel like it's important for you to have experienced something in your life and share that story with other people, so that they can either feel inspired, make some changes, or.
It's relatability, right? I mean,
Right, right.
you know what? You know what's up. You know what you know what's happened. You know what we've been through and stuff. So yeah, I had my childhood therapist on here. He came on here. So when I was a kid, yeah, I grew up in the South Bronx and it's rough. It was a very rough upbringing and I experienced a lot of violence, a lot of gang violence, and it messes you up. It creates a lot of trauma. So I had a lot of training. I was using I put a tweet out earlier referencing the cop who mixed up the gun with the taser, right? So well, I didn't even want to get into that.
Yeah, yeah,
And somebody said, "Hey, man, unless you've ever been shot at and you ever been in their shoes, And I said, "Hey, man,
mm,
I would never be a cop. You know why I would never be a cop? Because I know that I'm a fearful person. I
right,
have a lot of trauma from the street, right?
right,
So it makes me an anxious individual. Now,
right,
if I see a group of 5 guys walking towards me, white, black, Latino, I get nervous because where I
right,
come from, that usually meant I was about to get jumped. Now
right.
you
Something
put
like
me in a uniform and you give me a gun, I'm probably a dangerous person, right?
right,
Because I'm already automatically thinking those guys are gonna jump me, and I got a gun now, and I'm a law officer, so that makes you a dangerous and now knowing that I'm not a cop, right? So that's why I told the guy, if more people knew themselves, it could be safer for everybody. I know that I am a nervous person. I'm anxious in the street because I was using a human shield in a shootout once. Somebody came, grabbed me,
right.
pointed a gun, and started shooting at another car, which then produced their own gun and aimed it. And I guess I saw the fear of God in my eyes. I don't know. They didn't shoot and they drove off. But that
Thank God.
kind of,
Yeah,
it's a person, I don't know, call me crazy, but
you're
it's a
still
crazy
not dealing
person.
with that trauma. You're not still dealing with that experience, any anxiety currently,
Sure.
nervousness.
I
Yeah,
mean, I just told you they put a scaffolding in my thing, and I'm thinking somebody's gonna break in and murder us. You know what I mean? Like, you know, yeah, no, these things stay with you.
right.
And that's just an example of what I experienced. So, but my whole point of that is that I know I would not be a good cop because I'm too nervous. I have a lot of like, I guess we'll use the word trauma. I don't know if that's the right word. I have a lot of experiences that make
Yeah,
me a person that should probably not be out there policing people, and I know it. And I've encountered cops
right.
who probably shouldn't. And I don't bash the police. I'm not one of those individuals. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wonder how much psychological testing are they getting, before they actually become police officers. I wonder how much testing are they getting, not just physical, but mental, psychological testing are these police required to get and undergo when they're doing the officer training. And each year, I wonder what's required because if they're making these mistakes, I'm getting a taser confused with a real gun, something may not be right. And I wonder what are their requirements to still be a police officer? What are their training requirements? So
I think
a
that's
lot
what
of
it all boils
questions.
down to. Yeah, it boils down to training. And
Yeah,
you also have to address the trauma. If you're an officer, you're under a lot of stress. It's a tough job. There's no question about it. I've been in the military. I've worn that uniform. I've been security in civilian sector. I've worn that uniform. There's a lot of pressure that comes with simply wearing a uniform. Now, wearing a police officer uniform, I'm sure it's a tough, so I'm not, like I said, I don't bash the police, but you have to address the ones who do things that are wrong. You have to. And every time I mention this, I get attacked. You don't know what it's like to be shot at. Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do know what it's like
Right.
to be shot at.
Right.
I know what it's like to get stomped out, or like I know all these things. I've experienced it. Therefore, I am not an officer. You know, um,
But you still can speak on it because you've experienced some things. I think you were right for speaking out about it. I think a lot of us should continue to speak out about it until change comes. I don't think it's going to get any better unless, better police officer training takes place, that psychological testing and uh,
mental health is very important in
just
that
a
field.
lot of things just need to be reevaluated when we talk
Maybe you
about these
were,
shootings and the
you know,
police officers.
maybe you were a nerd, right? So like you were a nerd and you were picked on your whole life. All of a sudden they give you a badge and a gun. Now you got an ego trip. What you mean you're not gonna come out the car? Boom. Because you
Right.
have that nerd trauma. Like all these things have to be addressed. And that's usually what it comes down to. If you watch the most of these clips where there's abuse and stuff, it's all about ego. Ego. I told you to do something. You don't want to do it. Now watch what's gonna happen. You know? That's a big problem too.
Right.
It's I mean, I don't want to make our entire conversation about this stuff, but it was just addressing that point about knowing, that if you're a scared individual, that I don't know if you heard the story about Kai Gurley here in New York City who was shot in a project because the cop got startled. He got startled, squeezed, bullet came, killed the guy, killed him in the chest. Young guy, father of the daughter and everything. It's messed up. It was the Asian dude. The Asian dude. I forget his name right now.
Yeah.
The cop was the Asian guy, and he had his finger on the trigger. He was nervous, and he, just I know that your finger's supposed to be like this, not on the trigger.
Right.
And I'm a civilian, so
All the stories just sound the same. Whatever happened to the police officers that patrol that particular neighborhood getting to know the community? Whatever happened to that? I think a lot of those situations and incidents might decrease if the officers became, you know,
community policing.
more relatable in the community or just
Yeah, yeah. There's I don't know if you ever heard of Officer Norman in Arkansas. He's a officer that knows everybody in his community. He knows everyone. He helps the
okay.
community. Amazing guy, and that that's how it should be. I don't recall ever knowing any police officers growing up. Not where I come from. I never knew any of them. None of
Right.
them were, yeah. I always encountered different police officers, and mind you, I look how I look, right? So they're not messing with me as much as they were messing with some of my friends, and because of how I look, I I don't have the same level of aggression, and so I recognize that, you know what I mean? And I also use that as a tool to express it. Hey, I got caught one time in a gang fight. I didn't get arrested. I got a ticket and they let me go. Right. Meanwhile, my friends got in a little bit more trouble. What was the difference? You know, how we look. And I call it out. And people get mad at me and stuff. It's like, well, what are you saying? You're anti this and that. I'm like, no, dude, I'm stating the reality of what I saw, right? I was
Right.
experiencing the same thing, this major gang fight with, I'm not going to mention any names of the uh, organizations, we'll call them, but I got a ticket. I got a ticket for, I think, $120 and then sent on my way, you know. And my friends, a couple of them individuals got caught in separate, we all kind of scattered and they got arrested, you know. So there's there's a um reality of it. So one of the things I saw your email was about you're talking kind of like about accepting yourself, right? Kind of accepting yourself as you are. Um can you talk about that? Like how that really works in reality, you know?
Okay, so you talking about a Fat Girl's Confidence, the book. Um, Pretty much self-love. That's what I was talking about, when I wrote that book, just loving who you are, and if you wanna make some changes about yourself, do it, but don't do it because somebody else has told you to do it, you know? We all have that phase in our life when we're gonna look in the mirror and we might not like what we see, and it's up to us to feel defeated, or if we're gonna move forward and make some changes, then do it. And the reason why I chose to speak on that topic is because I've struggled with weight my whole entire life. So I felt like it was important because when we look at the TV or when we're on social media, we see so many different women that are smaller, that are slender. And a lot of times we might put in the back of our minds, like we might be beautiful if we were small, if we did this, if we did that. And we started to add self doubt to who we are. So I said, you know what, I'm going to write something just to encourage women and motivate women to love who they are. And if they want to lose weight, do it. But don't do it because you're feeling some type of way or because somebody called you fat. That was the whole purpose of Affect Girls Confidence.
Okay. How does that work in real life? So like I use myself as an example. I don't like what I see in the mirror, right? Period. I just don't. I like myself when I'm nice and lean and I got my six pack out, and it's very difficult to maintain, right? So I've lived my life in this constant struggle of, I have to get myself there. This has been my entire existence, right? In the process of everything that I've lived, it's always been I have to get there, you know. And I've never when people tell me, love yourself or yourself as you are, but I hear it. I'm like, cool, sounds great. But and then I won't challenge people on it or whatever, but I don't, it's not real to me. You know? So that's does that make sense? Like,
So you
well,
always sound like a negative. You always see yourself as being negative. You always sound like a negative physical concept of yourself. Always.
when
Nothing
it comes
changes
to
that.
well, when I'm fatter, I'm not happy with that, you know? I mean, I don't like it and I don't feel
Okay.
confident. I feel disgusted. Like it's freaking disgusting to me, right? So, it's not to say that I don't like myself or that I don't think I'm successful. Like I've done things. I'm talking about just in that area, you know, my confidence has always been attached to my physique, you know? Um,
Right. So it's gonna be a little bit different for you. People like you that think you have to be this small or um this type of way, it's gonna be harder for to read my book and be like, okay, love me. No, I'm gonna love me once I get to this level, once I lose this weight. Yeah, that's always gonna be in the back of your mind. I think the only way that you're gonna change it if you just look in the mirror and start to love who you are, no matter what your size is. Like, I think it's easier for me because I've always struggled with weight. So it's more accepting for me to be like, okay, well, I weigh this much. That's okay. I'm still going to pull and I'm still going to attract the opposite sex. So people still going to like me regardless. I think it was easier for me to accept that because I really didn't have any issues with, finding somebody that's going to be attracted to me. Like I was attractive with the weight on or with the weight off. And I think if you thought
feel
yourself
that
like that,
I feel that too though. So like and I acknowledge it, right? So I mean I'm married now, but before I was married, I would say well, I can get girls fat or skinny. So what's my issue?
right,
Like
right.
even if I'm fat, I'm still, like you're saying, attracting well shit, I was attracting both sexes. All genders.
So it's less
So
eventually.
so it's not, like I know I can get mine. You know what I mean? That's not a even when I was fat, I was still pulling, some, fly girls. You know what I'm saying? So when it wasn't even that. Now it may have felt easier when I wasn't fat, but I've spent more time fat than I spent ripped, and I had clearly more successes as a fat guy because I've been more time as a fat guy. But it's more of a self thing, you know?
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's more of a me not liking it, and it affects my, but I mean, nah, if I saw someone who I thought was attracted, I still, I shifted into that,
Shoot the shot.
I'm going for
Yeah.
it. Whatever hey,
Right.
listen, what's the worst she's gonna do? She's gonna say no, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I'm
the
still
worst,
attracted.
you know?
Um, I think you're battling with you. Since you're battling with you, you're gonna have to fix that on your own. And I think like one of the first steps is looking in that mirror and starting to change how you're thinking about yourself. Start giving yourself some positive self-talk, in that mirror. And with your clothes off, you're gonna have to accept what you like. And if it's still not accepting, you probably might need to get some counseling. It could be something from childhood that's torturing you, that's playing over and over in your mind. It could be something that somebody has said to you, regardless if you hate what you see in the mirror. Get in that mirror and practice and start speaking life into you, regardless of if you don't like your size or if you hate something about yourself. I think positive self talk is something that helps people a lot, even when you've been rejected or picked on or bullied. I think once you start to practice and tell yourself you are enough, you're beautiful, you're this, you know, the daily affirmations for me seem to work on a mental level. I start to feel better about myself. Even if I haven't lost any weight, I start to believe in my mind, like I'm feeling better this day, I'm looking better this day. And it's only because I told myself that. Nobody had to tell me. It's just me talking to myself, encouraging me. So could be a little bit of that mental blockage that needs to be turned around into a positive. That's for me. I think
Well, self-talk, I think, matters. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
My self-talk is very negative. It's usually negative and it's abusive. So, you know, I'm more of that, uh, well, I almost become like my drill instructor was to me when I'm self-talk. It's like I'm almost my own drill instructor in my head. So if I'm running and I'm getting tired, right? I don't say, "Okay, Angel, come on, a little further. You got this." I'm saying, I'm saying I'm saying more like, "You fat push, push, you fat push, push, quit. You don't quit. And that's the self-talk that I'm giving myself when I'm doing the miles, like,
And you know what? I'm forgetting that you're from New York. I'm forgetting that it's the Bronx. Really aggressive. So yeah, you gonna have to work on that. I have to work on that.
yeah, yeah, there's no gentle, like, "Angel, you're so great. You got this. Just one more mile." It's more like, "You wanna stay fat? You disgusting piece of," and then that's, that's I'm running,
Pushing yourself down.
yeah, that's kinda how and it gets me there, you know? Um,
You do the opposite. You put a term to do the opposite. You're telling yourself, like, I'm not gonna be this fat fuck. I'm not gonna be this or that.
yeah,
So I'm gonna prove to myself that I'm gonna be better. So I get that too. That's a psychological technique as well. But on the flip side of things, start making yourself feel loved. It's okay to be calm. I think a lot of us need that. I think we know when to turn on uh certain personalities of ourselves. That's how I'm gonna name it. You know,
uh,
to truly start
yeah, I got that too. That's what I do in class too, but I'm a little nicer with them. When I teach, I kind of become like a mini drill instructor, but I'm gentler with them than I am with myself.
Ugh. And then, I become a drill instructor when I'm teaching my daughter at home now because it's like she doesn't get it and I lose patience. And I'm on a time schedule and she's still sitting there. So, yeah, I become the drill instructor because I want her to say in her mind, I could do this. But instead, she still sits there as if I'm not talking to her. So something else really instruct comes out of me. So I have to admit that, yeah, I'm not gonna be calm and that's okay, let's do it this way. And no, time is ticking. We have things to do. Let's go.
One
I
plus
try to
one,
do it different.
3. 1 plus 1, 3.
Yeah.
Get on your face. Get on your face. Dude, Do 2 push-ups. 1 plus 1. Do 2 push-ups.
Now I'm gonna have to put that inside there now. 2 push-ups because you missed the answer. Yeah.
Incorporate the push-ups.
I'm gonna include that now.
Make
Yeah.
the answer the number of push-ups.
Right. Right.
Well, sorry when you get into multiplication and factorials.
That's what we're on. That is what we're on. 3-digit subtraction. She's in the 3rd grade, and, it's kinda hard being at home. The whole
You
thing
guys not in school yet? You're still doing remote learning?
we could do remote learning. They're just opening us back up in North Carolina. But for me, I still didn't send my kids to school. None of us had COVID inside the house. I felt like by me sending my kids to school, I felt like they were gonna be the first guinea pigs. So I just wanted the other guinea pigs to get out there first. Let me see the statistics on the children going back to school because I haven't seen any yet. The number of sick children, the COVID.
Have you guys done the vaccines yet or not yet?
They have the vaccines going on, but still, I want to see the numbers.
Yeah,
Where
I
the
feel you.
statistics from these children returning back to school? Where are they? My children aren't going to be the first guinea pigs. I'm gonna let the other kids be guinea pigs first, and then I'll think about it. I'll think about it. You know.
Yeah,
So
you're right. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm scheduled for the end of this month, to get it. But I waited a while, and I actually wanted the Johnson & Johnson one, but now I'm seeing the news with that. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with these other, uh, more, seemingly trusted ones, you know, that seem a little safer. But who knows? We'll see. If in a year everybody becomes a zombie, no,
mhm.
then we know.
Right, right.
You know, you just don't know. It's too soon.
Yeah. I'm just gonna wait around. That's what I said. If my children go back to school, it'll probably be August when the new school year starts. It won't be this school year. Pretty much, it's summertime now. Summertime is getting ready for the enter. So it would be no need for to send them back to school this time. Yeah,
School ends soon. School's
yeah. For
over
us,
soon, right?
it should end the end of May. The first week in June for us, and then the summer until August.
Yeah, grind it out at this point. Why take the risk? Although admittedly, I was one of the first ones back at the gym when it opened. Day one, I was back in there, but that goes back to me hating
You're
the way.
obsessed.
Look, you know, you-
Yeah, you're
yeah,
obsessed with weight.
yeah, yeah.
Want to keep up your physique. So I understand. I think you should be gentle with yourself. Oh, especially you're married. Do you have any health issues?
I have high blood pressure. It went back up when I got fatter over COVID because I gained weight over COVID because I got vertigo. And when I got vertigo, I couldn't train because I was running. I was still working out during the pandemic. I was still going out there and getting the miles until the rocks in my head got loose and the vertigo came in. Now everything starts spinning. I couldn't do anything. Uh,
Wow, that's
and,
different.
I'm sure you understand how that works, right? You can't train. You feel like crap. You feel like crap. What do you turn to for comfort? Food. you know,
I
you
think
know?
my dad struggled. Well, he just came in with that diagnosis of vertigo, but I really didn't fully understand it. Over the whole
Sucks.
pandemic, yeah, so many people have been coming down with different sicknesses and stuff. So
Yeah, vertigo sucks. It's like the only way I could explain it is if you got up right now and you spun in circles really, really, really fast for a long time, then stop. That feeling is with you all the time. That's vertigo.
so everything's always spinning,
Yep.
constantly moving.
Every movement you make, you're like, it's just it was the weirdest thing and very, very I thought I was having a stroke, like like I went to the ER that night and I told them like everything is like I couldn't stand. They're like, that you had drugs? I'm like, no, I didn't do no drugs. I was reading a comic, man. you know, I was sitting in bed reading a comic. All of a sudden I felt everything just go like and start spinning on me. And that's where it took me like 6 months where I felt normal. Now every once in a while, certain movements I'll feel a little dizziness, but it passes. It's not constant like it was. So hope it goes away for him because that is just not fun. You
Is
know,
it some medication that they put you on for the help?
the medication made me even worse because in addition to being dizzy, now I felt high and numb. You know, so it just made the whole experience like, you're now a zombie who's dizzy, whereas before I was just dizzy, but at least I had my focus. So I stopped taking I forget the name of it, meclizanone, I think it's called. It's supposed to be like for seasickness and stuff, but it makes you like you're like. Mm.
Janelle, no, dang.
So so I was like that and dizzy. Whereas at least the other times I was like dizzy, but at least I was yeah, that was very unpleasant.
Is it hereditary? Is it something in your family?
It could be, it could sometimes be just, there's these little crystals that are inside our ear that control our perception of gravity and movement. And if any of those gets out of there, it goes into this liquid sac. And that liquid is what tells your body you're up, you're down. Now you got this thing in there moving. So your body's thinking it's up, it's down, it's left, it's right, because of those little crystals. Sometimes they dissolve and kind of go away. Sometimes they go back in where they belong. Like I don't know what happened with me. One day I was just okay. Like I laid down and I was like, huh. Because it went from spinning all the time to spinning only when I laid down. So like I knew, okay, I'm gonna lay down, everything's gonna spin. I was fine, I knew it. So I laid down and I'm like, just wait, it stops, I'm cool, you know? And with one day I just laid down and all of a sudden I was like,
Mm,
woo woo, like I'm
right.
good. And it was just gone. None of the treatment they did help, nothing helped. It just went away on its own. Yeah.
Were
So
you stressed at the time or you were just normal?
no, I was chilling. I was reading a comic book. I was having a grand old time with my comics. I was in, I was laying in bed just chilling, you know, no agitation, nothing. I was just, you know, and all of a sudden there it was. And,
But you know something, as we get older, it's just the little things that start happening. Like you can get out of bed and you broke your whole ankle, but you just you have to get out of bed. You notice that like the older that you get, it's the little things. And I'm just like, wow, I didn't know. Like as I get older, I'm like, well, I was breathing just fine because pollen is out there. We're out in the country, so pollen is everywhere. I don't know about up there, but you know, people can't hardly breathe. It's different. But when we're younger, it really doesn't bother some of us. But now when we get older, our eyes are puffy, all different kinds of things. We can't breathe. We're constantly blowing our nose. It's nice, but I'm grateful to witness a lot of God's miracles because a lot of people could have been dead and a lot of things, probably wouldn't have got better with some people, but a lot of people have different testimonies. And, it was good to hear about your whole experience. Um, I'm really not familiar with it. I've heard people talking about it, but they never described it to me that way. So I sort of kind of totally get it. I couldn't imagine waking up and not being able to focus on one thing or holding my head up and walking. And I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't. So that takes a lot of strength.
yeah, that was definitely a tough experience. It's bizarre. It was the craziest thing. I was like, hell, if I knew this is gonna be where I end up, I would done all that heroin when I was a kid. Have some fun back then. If I know I was gonna be paying the price now, I should have taken that acid. Like
Oh, I don't.
you know, you know. I had I had one girl. She wanted me to do ecstasy with her. She's like, "I'll hook up with you if you take the X." And I wanted her. Like I like this girl, right? But I was
Like,
like, "No, I'm not gonna take no damn X." Like no. You know, I didn't take the X, and now I'm like, well, so if I was gonna end up screwed up anyway, I might as well taken the X and have me a good time with that girl and you know be screwed up anyway.
right, right,
I didn't take the X so that when I was in my 40s, my head wouldn't be spinning when I'm reading a comic.
right.
You know, if I knew my head was gonna spin anyway,
Let me
Might as
delete it.
well take a damn X back then. Don't do drugs, kids. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. Don't do it. If my head's spinning now, it might be even worse if I'd taken the X. So,
Right.
this is just a gradual progression of life. Things break down just like anything else. So
Right.
it's what it is. You know, we try to do our best. Live our best life as best we can. So that's all there is to it, right?
Yeah.
C'est la vie. I I think I went to I don't know if it was North or South Carolina once. I don't remember which one it was though. I was in the Air Force and I kind of feel like it might have been North. Um, because my she was a senior master sergeant. We were driving down to Maryland. I think it was Maryland. I don't remember. It's been so long. We were driving to some Air Force base and she stopped by to visit her family and that was one of the stops.
Mhm.
So she took us to one of the Carolinas. I don't recall.
It might be the Air Force Base here. I think it's in Goldsboro or Eastern North Carolina. It's like a country part. It's in a bunch of fields and stuff. What is the name of that Air Force Base? Can't think of it, but it's probably North Carolina. We do have an Air Force Base in Eastern Goldsboro, and I forgot the air.
Yeah,
So you've
so
been in
long
the Air
ago.
Force.
I hmm?
You've been in the Air Force.
97 to 2005.
Okay, what was that experience like?
I liked it. It didn't do anything for me career-wise or in terms of like, progression or whatever, but it was a good growing experience as a person, you know. It taught me a lot about one of the things I learned that most was in boot camp was just acceptance. I am in this situation that I don't like. I'm not happy about this, but there is nothing I can do about it. This is what it is. I cannot do anything about it, but simply see it through. In that case, the thing being boot camp, you know, um, understanding that if I simply, I don't want to use the word submit because it wasn't a submission per se, but it was simply understanding that I have to do these things that I hate and just accept that my life will be better. So at some point, something in my head just clicked, and that lesson I carried through life. That simply understanding, okay, Angel, this sucks, but you know what? You got to get it done. So let's get it done, push through, and then move on with your life. That was basic training. That was what I gained out of there most than anything else. Was simply that. And once I accepted that, I enjoyed it. I didn't want to leave boot camp. I became a machine. I became a robot. I was so good at I became the guy who marches everybody. Like they made me the guy who marches everybody. They made me the academic monitor. They made me the house mouse. These are all good jobs in boot camp, by the way. Being the house mouse is a great honor. So, you know, I just excelled once I kind of accepted it. It's like I became, again, I don't want to use the word institutionalized, right? Because it's not prison, but I became the very best at what we were once I kind of accepted it. So that I bring to life. So there's times at work that I'm doing a task that I'm not enjoying. I'm very annoyed or whatever. And I simply just remember that lesson just stays with me. You know what? I don't want to work with this person. I don't want to do this. Let's just get it done.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's get it done. The quicker you get it done, the quicker we can move on from it. So
I think some military experience and background and just having a military period, I think is quite necessary because you learn organization skills more so than anything. Some people call it control or, be institutionalized, but I think it's needed for some people. My dad, he was a Marine, so with me, the whole Millicent thing, getting everything together, staying on course, staying on track, making sure that we clean. Let's do this thing in order. It's everybody on one accord. Yeah, I don't like him or her, but let me just suck it up and let me get the job done because this is,
Right.
we're here for a purpose. So I sort of kind of get everything that you're saying, although I've never served. The furthest that I've done would be ROTC in high school. And I think I did 2 years. And for me to have to wrap my hair up and no nails, you could only wear like plain nails and you have to learn the different drills and you have to have your pants creased. It was sort of kind of interesting, you
Well,
know.
boot, you can't shave your legs. There's all kinds of,
There's
so
a lot of psychological things going on that you're gonna go through if you're a person that enjoys certain things. Just all that stuff being stripped away from you, you're like, I don't want to do this. They're gonna find something else to do. But if you stay, the longer that you stay and you keep on doing it in the routine, you start to get used to it. So yeah, I think it's needed for some people.
yeah, I thrived in the environment. I think the first 2 weeks I was resisting, right? And that was rough for me. Those first 2 weeks I was resisting and I wanted to get out. In fact, I told them, I will kill myself if you guys don't let me out, you know? So they sent me from the regular flight, the regular unit to the mental health unit,
Okay.
right? Where they're watching you so you don't kill yourself, right? And then I was over there doing the same crap that I was doing in the regular one. So while I was over there, I said, when am I going to get out of here? They're like, well, we're going to process you in maybe 6 to 8 weeks. I'm like, 6 to 8 weeks? The boot camp is 6 weeks long. And I'm already 2 weeks into it. I will be better served to just complete this thing and get the hell out. So I told them, yeah, send me back. And then well, you said you're going to kill yourself. I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to kill myself. Send me back. I just want to get the hell out of here. Like,
You went back.
then I went back
Like,
and they sent me back to my unit. And at that point, because the clicking that I'm talking about happened in the mental health spot.
mhm,
That's when I realized, like, I'm stuck here no matter what. I tried to get an easy way out, and it turns out to be a longer path.
mhm.
And I'm still doing the same.
You think they did that on purpose?
I don't know because some of those guys were not allowed back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I honestly don't know if that was the intent or not.
The
Um,
screen.
but it was the mental health spot where all the dudes were. Some of them were legit, like they were troubled dudes. I was just depressed and sad and shit. Like I was all bummed out and, you know, before I left for boot camp, me and my wife at the time had a miscarriage, so we had lost a child. So I was very depressed. I wasn't, you know, so I was crying all the time and shit. I was just in a bad place, and you know, they're asking, "Hey, you okay?" But when I told them, "I don't want to do this, man. I want to cut my wrist," and that's when they sent me over there. You know,
Mm.
and then when I was over there, and I'm just like, "So, can I go home yet?" Yeah. They're like, "No, you're not going anywhere. We're gonna keep you here. Maybe another 4, 5, 6 weeks." And I was like, "Why don't you guys just send me back?"
Right.
And then they asked me a bunch of questions, and when they sent me back, at that point, I became like the model airman. I was you know, I was a machine. Like I said, I thrived in the environment. I felt weird when I came back home.
Ah,
I felt out of place. I felt, like I was just like, well, I don't want to be here. I liked the structure, the control, the routines and everything. I thrived in that environment.
right.
You know, so I I did way better there after those 2 weeks.
Right.
Um, so but that lesson carries over to life.
It should. It
Every
should.
day I'm aware of that. There's a lot of times I'm doing something and I really don't want to do it, or I just, and I'm just kind of like, what, just get it done. And I get it done and then I can carry on.
Right. Right. I agree.
Little military experiences. it would be, I think it would serve people well. Yeah.
I believe so too. I have to agree.
I don't know if I'd make it compulsory where you have to force people to do it all the time, but I, I think it does. For some people, it gives you some benefit. Some people it doesn't. I know some guys in there who were, there was one guy, he was in there to stay out of jail.
Mhm.
And he was in some program. I think he was from the Barbados. So they had an arrangement where if he would serve, he wouldn't have to serve his jail term or something. I don't recall the exact details, but I was tasked with making sure that guy could pass our Air Force qualification exam.
Mhm.
And that dude was just a knucklehead. Like, he was just the dude that, of all the people that I kind of coached and stuff in there for the exams, he's the only one who didn't pass it. So I got everybody to pass except one dude. Yeah.
Well, you did your job. You did your job.
I mean, well, they still gave me hell. The drill instructors, blame me. you know,
Mm.
um, they still came after me like, how dare you do it? I said, come on, guys, let's be real here. We're in like week 6 here. I think you and I all know what is what is. All right. I said, may I speak freely? They're like, yeah. I was like, that guy doesn't want to be here.
Right.
You know, and he's not applying himself. He's not doing anything to succeed. So do you even want him in the Air Force?
Right.
And they kind of just looked at me like, I said, if avoiding prison isn't enough motivation for him to pass a stupid written exam, that isn't even that difficult, then hey, what else can we do?
Nothing.
You know, what else can we do? The guy was given literally a get out of jail free card,
Mm.
and I was committed, like I really focused on, I wanted him to succeed. He was a cool dude. I like him. He was a good guy. Um, but he just didn't try. So
It wasn't your fault. I think you did what you had to do. And a lot of times, it's just like me when I'm working with people, a lot of times everybody isn't going to come to the program and benefit from it. But those that want to succeed, they will. But if you don't put it in your head that you're going to succeed and change, I can't do nothing for you. And when things don't happen and go as planned, we can't beat up on ourselves. And I think that's what you do a lot of times. I think you beat up on yourself, especially with that weight. So
yeah,
we win some, we lose some, and that's just what it is.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't even remember his name. I can't even remember his name right now. I remember the story. I remember his essence and stuff. I can't remember his name. It's 97. We were kids, but I don't like I don't lose sleep over it. It's on him. He's a grown man. Like you got to do what you got to do. You know.
Right.
So yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and chatting with me. Is there a way people can find you? Anything you want to let them know prior to closing?
PatriceShavone.com is my website. I'm on Instagram. It's Patrice_Shavone and Facebook, Patrice Shavone Brown, pretty much, if you'd like to find me.
Awesome. Cool. Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck with everything going forward
Same to
with
you.
with the projects and everything. Cool.
Good health, good wealth. Have a good day.
All right. Take care. We'll be in touch. Take care now.
Bye.
You are listening to the NYC Talking podcast. www.nyctalking.com. Please like NYC Talking on Facebook. Please follow Angel R Talk on Twitter and Instagram. We are NYC Talking, the realest lifestyle blog ever. Thanks for listening.